the Djibouti Declaration for him for his personal use, Excellency.
Monsieur le Premier ministre, on m'avait préparé un long discours, mais je vais simplement partager quelques impressions plus personnelles, si vous me le permettez. Donc, Monsieur le Premier ministre, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, les ambassadeurs, chers collègues, c'est un très grand plaisir d'être aujourd'hui à Djibouti pour la première fois de ma vie. Je suis arrivé depuis 2 heures, j'ai déjà été décoré, donc c'est magnifique. Et cette décoration que j'accepte avec beaucoup d'humilité, parce que je sais, je connais ce que votre pays, Monsieur le Premier ministre, fait pour les réfugiés, et non seulement pour les réfugiés, mais pour la paix et la stabilité dans cette région. Donc j'accepte cette décoration au nom de tous mes collègues qui ont œuvré dans cette région, dans ce pays, et au nom aussi des réfugiés qui ont bénéficié de votre hospitalité. Donc merci. Permettez-moi, Monsieur le Premier ministre, de dire quelques mots en anglais aussi pour le reste des participants. I would like to thank very much IGAD member states and the Executive Secretary for his kind words. He and others have recalled that more than 3 million refugees live in the member states of IGAD, and a very large number, unfortunately, of internally displaced people as well. For the refugees, this is 1/6 of the total global population of refugees in the world. So it is a very big challenge for this region, forced displacement. But I think that it is precisely because you are faced with this challenge that one has to recognize that your work, especially after the summit in New York of last year on refugees and migrants, and after the publication of the New York Declaration, the work that you have done to follow up on the commitments made at that summit is truly pioneering work. Unfortunately, for health reasons, I could not attend the Nairobi summit. One of my deputies represented me, but that summit was a milestone between the New York Summit on Refugees and Migrants and the establishment next year, hopefully, of global compacts on refugees and on safe and orderly migration. The 2 global compacts on which we're working and which will become, and I'm sure they will be approved, but when they will be approved, they will become an important frame of reference on how we manage this very important phenomena of human mobility, forced displacement and migration. So what you're doing, especially in the area of forced displacement, which is UNHCR's area, main focus, what you're doing is really very, very important for the region, but also as an example to other states, to other regions. You know, I was in Geneva in the last few days. I chaired what we call the protection dialogue. We organize this every year. The theme of this dialogue with states, with civil society, with academia, with the private sector, 500 people came, and the theme of this year was the Global Compact on Refugees. And I have to tell you, the IGAD example was mentioned over and over again. So thank you for that. And I think that it is important because you truly, in the Nairobi Declaration and in the work that you have done in various areas afterwards, including on education, culminating in this particular and important conference, is very, very important because it focuses on protection of refugees, it focuses on support to host communities, it focuses on inclusion of refugees in national development plans, in services, in the local economy, and it focuses most importantly on solutions. The Nairobi Declaration was particularly focused on Somali refugees, and therefore it was linked to national development plans in the countries hosting Somali refugees, but also it was linked to plans to reconstruct Somalia, because eventually the solution is voluntary, safe and dignified repatriation. And this is why this conference is so important, because education is not only a tool to give to refugees what is their right to have, like any other people, education. It's not just an instrument of dignity and of identity, but it is also a very important investment in the future. We do hope that Somali refugees, South Sudanese refugees, other refugees in this region eventually will be able to go back home, and if they're educated, they will bring with them the know-how, the knowledge to rebuild their countries.
Je voudrais aussi, Monsieur le Premier ministre, féliciter la République de Djibouti. Tout a été dit déjà, je n'ai pas à le répéter, mais le dispositif législatif que vous avez mis en place pour la protection, pour l'accueil, pour la protection et l'insertion des réfugiés dans les services, dans l'éducation, dans la santé, l'accès à l'économie, à l'emploi, et maintenant l'annonce que le ministre de l'Intérieur vient de faire sur une politique qui évite les camps, la marginalisation des réfugiés dans les camps. On a vu trop de ça dans tous les pays du monde, et qui prime plutôt une approche de site, de village. Tout cela est extraordinaire. Et je pense que c'est autant plus extraordinaire que c'est fait, ça a été fait et ça continue d'être fait dans un pays qui n'est pas un grand pays, qui a des ressources limitées, mais qui donne l'exemple à beaucoup de pays beaucoup plus grands et beaucoup plus riches qui ferment les portes aux réfugiés. Merci pour cela.
Let me just finish by reminding everybody that I don't need to remind you, you know much better than me. This is, as I think the Executive Secretary said, or the Minister of Education said rather, this is a troubled region. This is a troubled region. A small country like Djibouti receives refugees from 4 different countries. This tells the story. And I think that it is very important that you continue to do what you're doing to address the consequences of this instability. Refugees and displaced people are the consequences of war. So it is very important that you do your best and you continue to do your best in extending protection and support to them, to the communities that are hosting them, building their resilience until they can go back home and until the situation is resolved. But here, Mr. Executive Secretary, I address also IGAD as a political institution. And I want to say that you have also an important responsibility to help resolve these conflicts. I'm not just talking about Somalia, which was very much the focus of the Nairobi Declaration, but also South Sudan, which is the crisis, unfortunately, that in this region is producing at the moment the largest numbers of refugees. I visited South Sudan in the summer. I visited the countries neighboring South Sudan, which are generously keeping their doors open. Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Sudan, the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo. But for how long can we take for granted their generosity and their hospitality? We have more than 2 million South Sudanese refugees and 2 million displaced people inside the country. If the crisis is not resolved, we forecast that there will be 3 million refugees in 2018. I really urge all of you as states and political institutions to invest as much as you can to support the leadership and the opposition in South Sudan to come to an agreement so that people can find peace and can eventually go back.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Premier ministre.
Thank you, Mr. Executive Secretary.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, High Commissioner. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, High Commissioner. Ladies and gentlemen, I think now we are coming to the close of our event today. Our guest of honor, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Djibouti, is here. As I said, we were with him early in the morning. The High Commissioner was with him. He's with us here. We don't take his time for granted. We really appreciate it. May I now have you, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, assist me in giving a very loud applause to welcome the Prime Minister. Please, Prime Minister.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Monsieur le Haut-Commissaire des Nations Unies pour les réfugiés, Mesdames et Messieurs les